always an explanation for everyone's behavior. You know, one of the questions I ask a lot on my channel is, I usually do at the end. What's the most important thing you've learned in your life? And there's so many great lessons in life. We could talk for 3 hours about all the great lessons there are. But to me, the one that really hit me, that I never understood, and then I never knew, and then I read it, and I'm like, in the Course in Miracles, which is a kind of an interpretation of the Bible. And I'm not religious. I'm the least religious person you've ever met. But I was reading the Course in Miracles, which is like an interpretation of the Bible. It's almost like a layman's version of the Bible. You can't read. Like what the?
Right.
Well, that's not English even. I don't know what that is. I can't understand a page of it. Course in Miracles is kind of like a layman's version of that, more understandable, more relatable. And one of the things it said, this is one of the early books on it that I was reading, said everything we do is either an act of love or an act of fear.
Mm-hmm. That's profound.
Everything we do. When I read that, I put the book down for like 9 months or a year and just sat there and processed that. Because if you think about everything we do, you know, that mean thing that somebody did to you, or that whatever hell you did, or that it's all just fear. Fear of not getting enough, fear of being hurt, fear of this. You can always boil it down to some fear of something. And then once you understand it, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, so there's no reason to be, there's no benefit in being fearful. There's none. Absolutely none.
It's like heaven and hell.
It's that extreme, and it becomes like you can either act with love or not act at all. That's what it boils down to. Mm. And that to me is the most important thing I've learned.
Wow. That's heavy.
It's what the world needs. Because you look around, look, what is everybody doing? What is all these behaviors that we're seeing that we're all just like so up in arms about? It's all fear. Some form of fear. And fear is not like, oh, I'm afraid of heights. Fear can be afraid of not getting enough. Fear of something happened to me like it happened to me when I was a kid. Fear of there's, if you really boil it all down, you see that, oh, that's just somebody's insecurity and fear.
Do you think that girl was afraid of you helping her?
It could have been anything.
Because
it could have been she had a pimp who was threatening her. Could have been fear of doing the right thing and getting her life straight, and maybe that just is too daunting an idea, too foreign an idea. Maybe she feels like she doesn't deserve it. Because once you have something happen to you, you're like, man, I don't deserve anything good in my life. So you're going to reject it, even if it comes with no strings attached. Even if it's just like, here, you can have this phone. It's all yours. You don't need to do anything except enjoy it. It's it could have been that. It could have been that. Maybe there was some romantic thing going on, and that can scare people off, right? Because like when people are in romantic relationships, sometimes people behave like, why the hell are you behaving like that? Because they're afraid of getting hurt.
Right.
But if you really have courage to override your fears, you can go into that relationship with courage and just be like, I know I might get hurt here, but I'm going to take a risk.
Wow.
You have to. There's no way around it. Without risk, you get nothing. What do they say? No risk, no reward. Risk is such an important thing in life. And that's one thing about me is a lot of people are risk averse. A lot of people are just afraid of taking risk. Oh, that's too scary. That's too dangerous. You might get hurt. You might get robbed. You might get whatever. I've been robbed like 6, 7, 8 times down on Skid Row. I knew I was going to get robbed before I got robbed. I got a gun to my face one time. That happens all the time.
On Skid Row?
Yeah. All kinds of shit happens there. I can tell you stories. I should write a book about all the stuff that happens behind the scenes, but I don't want that to be about what my channel's about. It's not a soap opera, and it's not a helping channel. It's about awareness and understanding. That's all I wanted to do. That was my goal. I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for views. So I just do these videos to create awareness. But risk is such an important thing in everything we do. If you don't take risk, then you're wasting everybody's time.
Right.
And I tend to love risk. Like if I find something risky, that's what turns me on. That's the only kind of female that interests me. That's the only kind of project that interests me. That's the only kind of project of any sort. Building a house, anything that's not risky just bores the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I love risk. I'm not a gambler, but I guess I am a gambler in terms of like.
Yeah, you are a gambler.
I do have a gambling.
Not at a casino though.
I do have a gambling problem, but I never. Casinos do nothing for me. I can walk through a casino and like, this is just noisy. But in real life, risk is like, it's what turns me on.
What else do you do? Do you
I
have
don't
a
do anything
family?
else.
Do you have?
Yeah, I got divorced like 5 years ago, and I have two teenage daughters. One's in college. One's getting ready to go to college.
Mm-hmm. Seems like you don't have time for
I get up
anything
around
else.
3 or 4 in the morning. That's fucked up already.
That is fucked up.
And then I start editing in the morning, and then I go to the gym every morning, and then I usually edit a little more, and then I go shoot all day. Sometimes I just edit all day. I'm traveling more now, so the travel really throws a wrench in all that. But I'll edit all day until I go to bed, and I do it all over again. And that's all I do. I have like no social life. I don't have any time for that.
You mentioned earlier.
I'm not complaining. I love it.
Right.
If I didn't like it, I would stop. But I feel like I'm onto something that's worthwhile, and I enjoy doing it. So it's like, why should I not do that? I could sit by the pool all day, but I wouldn't be happy doing that. I'd rather be inside editing. So I stay busy.
Do you feel like
I'm happy? I'm happier now than I think I've ever been.
Really?
Doing this, yeah.
Do you feel like you're making a difference in the world with this stuff? Do you feel like you're?
I mean, I think there's potential for that. I don't know if I am yet. I see like in the trajectory of this project. I'm on the first page of that. It's like I'm just beginning.
But you must feel like that you've started to make a dent. You must feel like you're starting to make a change. I mean, what else? You must feel like something is pulling you, right?
Yeah, I have really high standards. So whatever has been accomplished so far is not really it's nothing.
Do you have a goal?
Well, I just think like I'm not going to ever share it.
I
never talk about things I'm going to do.
Okay.
I put 100% of my focus and concentration on doing it. And for me to tell anybody about what I'm going to do takes away that focus and energy from doing it. And you need 100% of that focus and energy to do whatever you're going to do, especially if it's something that's really challenging and requires a lot of courage and requires a lot of like something on your part. You better just keep it to yourself and shut up and do it. Because if you start talking about what you're going to, I've seen this a million times with people. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that while we're sitting at Starbucks having a coffee. You're not going to do it. It's almost a list of things you're not going to do. I've learned. So I just, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to do it. And you're going to be like, holy fuck, how did you do that? Like, you didn't tell me you were going to do that. That's how I operate. I just keep it all to myself and I just do it. I find I'm much more focused that way. And you need all that focus you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Axel, who works with me, he said, you're the most focused person I've ever met. But I've read about Kobe Bryant. He seems pretty intense too. He was.
Yeah, that's.
But you need that kind of laser focus on just this is what I want to have happen, and nothing close to that is going to work. If I get something that's kind of close but not quite, that's garbage, because there's only one thing I want to see happen, and I'm not going to share it.
That's super interesting. What?
Because if I start talking about what I'm going to do, I can guarantee you I'm not going to do it. Too much of the energy has already been dissipated, and I just won't have what it takes to make it happen. I can put some effort in, get half-assed and kind of do it, but it really won't get done. But if I shut up about it, I'll do it.
But in your mind, you must have a super clear, concise,
always
laid out vision of where you're going, right?
Absolutely.
And did you take time to plan that out?
Like I said, I'm really intense.
I mean, don't tell. I'm not asking.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to share it, but did you take time to lay out that path in your own mind?
Yeah, kind of. But I'm also sometimes you have to improvise and see that, oh, this is going to work better than that. And there's always improvise. There's always adaptation going on. Like with this project, I find like my my opinion of what the problem is, or my ideas on what the most effective way to do what I'm doing is, changes almost every week or every month.
Right.
Like I'll learn something like, oh, I didn't realize that
Mm-hmm.
that would be something that people will respond to, or I didn't realize that would be as it would resonate as much as I thought it would, or so I'm learning stuff all the time. Or I didn't realize, like just recently, one of the biggest kind of discoveries I made with because really what I'm doing is about the human struggle to just be happy. That's really what I'm doing. People think I'm doing videos on Skid Row or on drug addicts. I'm like, I'm not doing videos on drug addicts. I did a whole bunch on drug addicts because it's like an extreme version of what you and I go through. Like I've never smoked pot. I don't even drink alcohol now. I don't have a problem with any of these, but drugs are not my issue. And I don't have a gambling problem. I don't have other problems, but I'm not perfect. I've got issues like we all do. And those struggles are common with everybody.
What is, out of the over 2,000 interviews you've done, which one is your favorite? Which one do you think about the most? Which one do you always go back to?
Oh, I mean, my little personal favorite is one with SB, which is a gang member, and not because it's so deep or heavy. It's just SB he got stabbed in the heart recently, and we thought he died, but I think he's alive. I haven't seen him since. It happened like 4 or 5 months ago, but I haven't seen him since. I heard he survived. It's only like a minute and a half long. It's the shortest video on my channel, and it's so intense and so beautiful and so well done about him talking about the streets. And it's just like, fuck, if I could just do that with every video. It was so beautifully done. And he was a great storyteller. He would tell these stories. He probably still does, hopefully. He tells stories in like where he's playing, like him and his buddy are robbing a third guy. And he tells a story, what he's saying, and then he talks as if he's his buddy, and then he talks and he's telling this whole story with 3 different characters, but he's playing all 3 at the same time. And he does it with such street slang, and he's like, it's just so fascinating for me to listen to. But he's talking about really violent, crazy stuff that most of my audience probably doesn't like. A lot of people love the gangs videos, and other ones hate them, and other people love the Appalachians, and other people find them boring. And how much drug addiction can you actually watch? It's like but people love those. You put up an attractive female heroin addict, that'll get a lot of views. So it's all that. But the SB one is all the SBs are great. The Jerry, Jerry is the black gentleman who was shot in the face with a shotgun.
Oh yeah, that one was.
He just passed away this last weekend.
Did he really?
He died. Yeah.
How long did he survive after he was shot in the face with that shotgun?
It's been a long time. I mean, it's been, I forget what year he was shot. But it's been 15 years or so, maybe longer.
Do you know how he died?
Oh yeah, he had COPD. The breathing. He had problems breathing. He even told me. I saw him a couple of days before he died. I would see him every once or twice a week. I'd just stop by, and I was paying his bills and all that. So I'd see him often. And I saw him a couple of days before he passed away, and he just said, it's just so hard for me to even go down to the lobby of his apartment. He lived on the 3rd floor. For him just to go downstairs in the elevator, not the stairs, elevator. He said, it's just so hard for me to get around now because my breathing is so bad. So I kind of knew that this might be happening, but I was surprised that it happened as soon as it did. But he was such a lovely dude.
I was amazed at how well spoken that guy was, and how friendly and charismatic he was. From a guy who was missing half of his head.
When we in that I think I did the original video that's very kind of just crude, and I wasn't very proud of it. So I did a part 1 and a part 2 with him, and then now there's a part 3 showing his apartment. But the part 1 and part 2 are the ones I would rather people watched because it covers everything in that original video that's not so good and much more. And in I think the part 2 of that series, he talks about forgiveness, which to me there's nothing more important to talk about. And I asked him, what would he say to the guy who shot him? Because half his face and half his brain is missing. The whole right side of his head, it looks like a cantaloupe you dropped off a building. His head is shaped like a half moon.
Right.
And he said, I love you. I forgive you. And that's the only way you can be. That's the only way that you can be. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's the only option. Because to be hateful hurts you. Mm-hmm. To be hateful doesn't accomplish anything. There seems to be so much hate in the world. And you just look in the comments on YouTube, seems like a third of them are hate-filled or motivated by hate. Hate accomplishes nothing. And what people don't understand about it, to put out some hate against somebody, that hate comes back to you, and it hurts you more than it hurts them.
Of course.
The subconsciously. People don't understand how subconsciously you
suffer.
You suffer. And if you want to hurt yourself, go ahead and hate somebody. But you're going to suffer for it. And that's why I say I go to bed every night with clear conscience. Man, I don't hate anybody or anything. If I loan you $5,000 and you never pay me back, I'm going to treat you exactly the way I did before you ever offered me, before you ever borrowed $5,000. Mm-hmm. I'm going to treat you exactly the same because I don't want to have that crap on me. I'm probably not going to loan you another $5,000, but I'm not going to carry that anger with me. Because if I carry that anger, like, man, that motherfucker didn't pay me back. It's not hurting you. It's hurting me. And if I just let it go, as Jerry says in that talk, you just let it go. And you're lighter on your feet. And it's easier for you to smile. And it's easier for you to sleep. And your heart rate is lower. And your brain waves are more calm. And everything is better. To just forgive and let go. With everything. Like when I went through the divorce, it'd be very easy for me to like blame this, blame that, blame this person, blame. I took 100% of the responsibility for everything that I went through. 100% of the responsibility for everything. I don't care who else was involved. I take the blame for everything. And by doing that, I have total peace with everything. I'm not angry at anybody. Not angry at anybody. You just forgive. And you're just lighter on your feet. You're happier. You're at ease. You're at peace. And it's just a better way to live. And I don't know where I learned that. I've known that since I was a little kid. So that's not the most important lesson I've learned, because I seem like I've known that my whole life. Even when I was a little kid, I knew that. My parents don't have it. No one in my family embodies that, but I live by it. Always have. It's not something I try to do. It's just something I have always done.
Yeah, I feel like I know why you got divorced. I feel like your work, probably. Mm-hmm. You're a workaholic. Anyone who had a romantic relationship with you probably was going crazy. Like, what the fuck? Pay attention to me.
No. My ex-wife is the coolest woman that ever walked the earth. She was great. She is great.
That's great that you maintained a good relationship.
Oh yeah, no, we just had Thanksgiving dinner together.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, man.
No, she's great. She's great. People meet her and they're like, "What the fuck? You're an idiot." I'm like, "Well, but no, it's all cool. It's all good. She's got a nice boyfriend now, and that's all great." And I'm happy for her. So, no, it was a time when my career was cranking, and we were raising little kids, or not little kids, but we were she was totally into raising kids, and I was totally into my work, and things just kind of like started to veer apart. And Create Equal came out, and it flopped. It's out of print now, and you can buy a copy on like eBay or on Amazon. You can get a used copy for like $1,000, so it's hard to find.
What?
Yeah, it's an expensive book.
Did you create a specific amount of copies to sell?
The publisher did.
Okay. Yeah. And there's no more available.
Steidl in Germany published it, but it's out of print, and now you can find an old copy for a lot more money. So I guess I shouldn't be ashamed of it. The first gallery show that I had with it, we sold like $500,000 in prints at that first show. But that sounds like a lot, but I spent much more than that to create that project. You have to understand that I do things really heavy, like really intense. I don't just like kind of take some pictures. I don't do that. I don't kind of do something.
You mean you're not some corporate executive trying to squeeze profits out of everything you do?
No, I do things with gusto. That's one thing I do. When I do something, if I'm into it. If I'm not into it, good luck. I won't even get off the sofa. I won't do shit.
What's the point if you're not?
If I'm not into it, I just don't do shit. But if I'm into it, look out. Look out. Just look out. That's all I can say.
That's the thing. That's the way everything should be, man.
That's where everything should be.
You need purpose in what you do.
I am when I am focused, there's no stopping me. And between the combination of focus and concentration and hope, it just makes anything possible. It makes anything I want possible. And there's very little that I don't accomplish when I want it.
That's amazing.
It's great. It's great. But you have to believe, and you have to really be so committed. It's like, I'm going to make this happen. I don't care how much. Sometimes you almost, I find I'll come up against something really negative. Like, oh my, that's a really terrible setback. That's never going to happen. And I'll see how, no, that setback can actually make this happen. Because the other person, let's say you're interacting with a person. That person that's just said no, you allowed them to say no. You've given them the space, and that's really important. That's an important thing with human interactions is to give people the space or the respect to, like you know, it applies to every kind of interaction. But let's say somebody does something really bad. Like, are you married?
Yes.
You're married. Let's say you do something that really just your wife didn't dig, and you really fucked up in some way. Who knows what? Just make up something in your head. You fucked up. She's pissed off. She's disappointed in you. You were a serious fuck up. She could come back at you and go, "What the fuck's the matter?" She could give you all kinds of crap for it, or she could give you your space and your respect, and let you kind of hold your head up when you come home from work, and that'll allow you to kind of get your dignity back. And you'll choose to do the right thing next time. Most likely. You'll choose to do the right thing next time something like that comes up, instead of repeating that same fucked up behavior. By giving you that she's not going to condemn you when you came home from work. She's not going to like say, you motherfucker, you fucked up again, or you do whatever. She's just going to interact with you just the way I'm not saying being passive and let you getting away with it, but giving you the room to retain your dignity, because that's important. That's super important that you still feel good about yourself. It's like raising little kids. We talked about this earlier. If you make the kid feel bad, they're gonna be bad. If you make the kid feel good about themselves, they're gonna do the right thing. And the same thing with adults. So if your wife makes you feel bad about something, you're probably going to continue to do it eventually. But if she allows you to forget about, let's forget that happened. Let's forgive and forget. You know you fucked up. You process that. Man, I don't want that to happen again. I feel bad about doing it. But she didn't make me feel guilty about it.
Not try to punish you.
Not try to punish you. Just you disappointed her, right? You know you fucked up. And if you're a stand-up dude, you're going to not do it again. And you can get back to the relationship with your dignity, with your, you can be proud of who you are. I guess that's what I'm saying. Whereas otherwise, then you're going to feel bad about who you are. And eventually the whole relationship will deteriorate. It'll all just fall apart because you feel like a piece of crap because of what you did. And that just makes you behave like a piece of crap. And it's the same thing with children.
How did you learn this?
It's just common sense. Everything boils down to common sense and science. It's all science.
Yeah, but it has to be some sort of experience that
I read
you're not born with that, right?
I'm born with the forgiveness thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely born with that. I'm born with the focus and drive that I got.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So born with it's just understanding.
Like, do you think that theory or that concept of not punishing someone for a fuck up or a major mistake and letting them sit back?
I'm not saying being passive. I'm not saying being passive at all. Just so if anybody's listening to this, you're enabling or whatever. And I'm not saying that. What I'm doing is giving you room to do the right thing next time. Now, if you continue to fuck up and do it again and again and again, then
right.
yeah, lock them up and whatever. But
right.
But all I'm saying is,
you're not saying cut off the relationship. You're just saying
no. I'm just saying, like, if everything's been fine, all of a sudden you did something really fucked up.
Yep.
Rather than just saying, dude, you really fucked up and you're an asshole and you all that and making you feel really shameful and really,
because chances are you already know that.
You already know that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows when they fuck up. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be reminded. The fact that you're being reminded just makes you feel worse. But if you if she just interacts with you just as she did before this happened, it gives you room it gives you the space, the dignity to walk into the room again with your head held high and give her a kiss on the forehead or cheek and just be cool and do the right thing next time. And people don't seem to understand that. They would rather just hate and condemn and make you feel bad, and that just takes things down. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants that. She doesn't want it, and you don't want it. It hurts her, it hurts you.
Right.
But if she did this, it helps her and it helps you. I'm not saying be passive, though. I'm not saying just, let people,
I totally understand. If you had one message for the world after everything you've learned from your life, your work, all the people you've interacted with, what would your message? What's your legacy?
Oh, I would say forgiveness and understanding. Forgiveness is such a huge one. Like I forgive really well. And when I say forgive, it's just like what Jerry said in that talk. Mm-hmm. Totally forget. Just like it never happened.
Right.
Like if you borrowed that $5,000 from me and you never paid me back, I would continue to interact with you as if nothing ever happened. Because it didn't in my head. And hopefully, you get past it too. And one day maybe you pay me back and one day maybe you don't. I'm probably not going to loan you any more money. But that forgiveness, kind of like what we just talked about with your wife,
right.
It allows everyone to heal. And that's the real thing that we want to happen. That's like the thing with my channel. I want us all to be healed and happy and at peace and loving ourselves. Really, it's all about loving yourself. I mean, it's really it's that lack of unconditional love that happened in childhood that causes all these problems you see on my channel and in life. Unconditional love is the answer to the reason I mentioned the Blue Oyster Cult thing earlier. I never finished that. So if Blue Oyster Cult ever wanted their name back, I would change the name of my channel to Unconditional Love.
Really?
Because that's really what it is.
Right.
That's what all my videos are all about. The fact that you didn't get that when you were a kid, and now you're doing all this screwed up behavior because you were never loved unconditionally. And love is not unconditional love. It's like a disguise that looks like love, and your mom is being nice to you, but then she's also being manipulative. And she's nice to you, but then she's not. And then she's nice to you, but there's all these games that are being played. And unconditional love is just like it's unconditional. Mm-hmm. And that heals everything. Heals everything. Kids grow up beautifully with that. When you abuse a kid, when you sexually molest them, when you do all these terrible things, when you talk down to them, they end up broken. And if you just love them and accept them and give them, patience and listen to them and talk to them as if they're intelligent, they grow up to be great people. So something along the lines of all that is what we all need.
That's super powerful, man. Yeah, one of your most popular video series on your channel is about an inbred family, right?
Yeah,
where did they live?
It's got 12 or 13 million views.
Yeah, it's got an insane amount of views.
When I was doing Create Equal, my first book, which is all American portraits, I went to every state and I did portraits of all kinds of people, from astronauts to ballerinas to politicians to drug addicts, everything you can imagine that exists in the United States, polygamists, everything. We were in West Virginia, just driving around as I would do, and just driving around, just with no goal, no one to hook up with. We were just looking around, and I went to a convenient, like a little truck stop, and there was a cop there, and I just, the cops are really good to talk to because they know everybody. They know all the stories and all this stuff. So I went up to the cop and told him what I'm doing. He goes, yeah, I could do that. I get off at 2:00. Like, great, I'll meet you at 2 right here. So I did, and he just took me to a whole bunch of different spots that were incredible. He was great. Of all, I use these kind of contacts very often, and he was one of the best in Raleigh County, West Virginia. He was amazing, and he eventually, after it was not on the first trip, but the second trip there, took me to see the Whitaker family in a town called Odd, West Virginia.
Odd, West Virginia.
Yeah. Well, West Virginia and Kentucky have a lot of these towns that just have the strangest names. I just did a video, I think last week, of a girl that lives in Helfer Certain, Kentucky. And there's the most ridiculous names for towns in both West Virginia and Kentucky. So there's a town in West Virginia called Odd. And there's a bunch of other.
And this cop just took you to these guys, the Whitakers?
Well, no. What he actually said, it's a great story. This was a second trip to West Virginia. The first one, we were doing some other things, and all our equipment got rained on, so we had to we can't even shoot here. We can't rent new equipment because we're in West Virginia, so
right.
we had to pack up and go home. But he said, when you come back, make sure you bring video camera because you're going to need video for this. And this was back when this was 2004 when I was doing Great Equal, which was just photography, no videos. And he goes, make sure you bring a video camera. And I'm just like, yeah. I don't do video. I've never touched a video camera in my life.
That's funny. So
we went back to LA, and then 2 weeks later we came back, and he goes, you brought a video camera, right? I'm like, no, I didn't. He got all pissed at me. He was like, I told you to bring a video camera. And then, so whatever, he took us there, and he was exactly right. It was the most, like that little scene from Deliverance that everyone knows. We come around this, we're on a road, and it turns into this little country road, then it turns into a dirt road, and we come to this trailer and then a little shack on the other side of the road. And there's these people walking around, and their eyes are going in different directions, and they are barking at us. And the one guy you'd look at him in the eye or say anything, and he would just scream and go running away, and his pants would fall around his ankles, and he'd go running off and go kick a garbage can. And this would happen over and over. It was out of control. The craziest thing I've ever seen. But I eventually got, it's an interesting story. This shows you how I operate. This is why the barrier to entry for this project is incredible. And barrier to entry is the key to making business successful, whatever you're doing. Because if you just do something that's easily duplicatable, then everyone's just going to copy it and do it. But here's this gives you a window into what I do. So this family in West Virginia they're like kind of protected by the neighbors and the relatives and whoever, they don't like people coming to ridicule these people, and everybody in the area kind of knows of them, and let's just go over to the Whitakers and laugh at them or something. This kind of stuff happens. So I was this city slicker with cameras, and it's a pretty, not a huge production, but it's clearly I'm not from around here, and it's clear that I'm doing something different. So just my luck, we showed up, and somebody in their family had just passed away, and they were all mourning the death of their aunt or their grandmother or their somebody. And I asked one of the brothers who actually spoke if I could do these portraits. And he goes, no, we just had a death in the family, and we're all mourning, and we're having a funeral soon, and blah, 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 and it's just not a good time. I'm like, damn it, I came all the way out here, and this happens. It's just terrible timing. So I have to be respectful and say, okay, I'm sorry, thank you, maybe I'll come back, and that's just the way it goes. But then I started thinking about it, like, you know what? It might be really nice for them if, because I was shooting 8x10 Polaroids at the time. 8x10 film, but then shooting 8x10 Polaroids. So they get a big instant print. Okay. And I said, if I shot Polaroids of them, they could have a print of the entire family, and they could include that in the casket with their loved one, and they might actually be into that. So I shot one of the members of the family, and then I shot a second one, and a third, and a fourth, and then eventually they liked that idea. And they said, okay, and that's what I did. And I ended up getting portraits of everyone I wanted to. And I gave them a print and did all the little nice things I do behind the scenes, and that was that. And it was a nice little relationship I started, and we would go back whenever I'd be in West Virginia shooting on like other projects and stuff, which wasn't often, but once or twice I'd be there, and I'd go visit them and say hi, and then so now I'm working on this project, and I was just like let's just drive by and say hi again. And I knew I couldn't do an interview like I do, which is a little more civilized like this. These people are so hard to, it's hard to communicate with them.
Right.
And I don't know if it was ever going to work out anyway. So it was, I was just with my iPhone. I just picked up my iPhone and I shot this stupid little video just kind of to show that the level of level of poverty, level of everything that was in that family, without any intent. It wasn't meant for my channel, because I won't post a video unless it has the portrait, and I couldn't get another portrait. I knew that wasn't going to be in the works. The last time it was a miracle that it happened. I don't think that was going to happen again. So I was just shot this little video, and as I was shooting, I realized this is kind of interesting. Yeah. This might actually work. Let me just follow through with it and see if maybe. So, I see a lot of comments. I get all the kind of comments from this is everything you can imagine on a video that becomes that popular. It becomes really interesting just to read the comments. But everything from I'm an exploitive bastard to this is incredible, and everything in between. But I forget where I was going with that. But it just turned into something like, I guess I could kind of use this. I can use the portraits from Create Equal, which is what I did, and I can post it. The video. And I did, and I didn't know what it didn't really fit the channel. I didn't really say anything in the video. It was just something that was, it feels exploitive, but I think it's good for us all to know that a lot of these things exist.
For sure.
People say, "Oh, what you're doing is exploitive," all the time. Look, a hotel, the hotel I'm staying at while I'm here in Tampa, they're exploiting my need to sleep.
Yeah.
The restaurant that I had breakfast at is exploiting my hunger. Everything is exploitive. You take a picture. Photography and video, especially, are by nature exploitive. Because if I take a picture of a girl for an ad, you're exploiting her beauty. You're paying her for her beauty, and you're using it in an ad. Is that not exploitive? So everything can be viewed as exploitive.
Except the difference is this is actual real shit. That's whatever it is, paid acting or modeling or whatever. Right now, right here, you're shining a light on something that's real. Like you're shining a light on an actual, actual wound. What would you say is the common denominator with all these people, like the pimps, the prostitutes, the
terrible childhood?
Terrible childhood.
Mm-hmm. For all of us, you, me, and everybody else.
Yeah. Anything specific about childhood, or?
Well, I said this in one of the videos. I think the one with Monica from Patrick Cady. I said, Soft White Underbelly was Blue Oyster Cult's original name.
Whose?
Blue Oyster Cult, the band.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Their original name was Soft White Underbelly, and I just thought that was a cool name, and also kind of Soft White Underbelly to me represents the most vulnerable part of an animal. Right?
Right.
It's like, what's the most vulnerable part of a dog or a cat or a coyote or a bear? It's their stomach. It's not protected. It's soft. It's white usually. Soft white underbelly it's the most vulnerable part of the country. So these stories are all about these children when they're most vulnerable get broken. And that's just so fucked up.
Yeah.
And if we're not aware of how this all happens, then it'll just continue. It'll just continue for another 300 years or 3,000 years. So why not expose what's broken so that maybe we can do things to protect kids so that maybe this shit won't happen to LaToya or her kids, or the next LaToyas. So there's a lot of things that are really wrong, and you got to put out these painful stories in order to figure it all out, and that's all I'm doing. So somebody says, "Oh, you're exploiting these people and all that." It's like, fine, let's just not do it. Let's just let all these kids and beaten up and abused, and just get back to our Starbucks and forget about it all. Or we can look at it and maybe create some awareness, and I see that kind of starting to happen. People are going, "Man, this is really fucked up. The foster system is so broken." There's so many stories of things that are just gone so bad in these people's lives, and I think just by becoming more aware of how these things happen and how often they happen, we can do things to prevent it. Not 100% of the time, but definitely a lot more than we're doing now, which is none. It seems to just happen all the time.
And so, what is it about Skid Row, and specifically, like your studio's on Skid Row? What is it about Skid Row that, why is it such a condensed?
Well, the city of LA kind of just decided, rather than having these people all over the city, let's try to keep them in one contained spot and just let them exist there. No one goes there. Most people drive around it or avoid it, and it's kind of out of the way. It's right next to downtown, but no one really goes downtown unless you're going to the downtown part of downtown.
Staples Center.
Yeah, all that. And there's some shopping and there's business and all that stuff downtown, but this is just east of downtown, and you would never go there unless you're trying to buy some.
Do you think it's a good thing that Skid Row exists, or do you think there's a better option?
I mean, you could build a little thing out in the desert where you take all these people and all the tents and all that, and you put them in the desert somewhere, and then they're out of sight. They still exist. They're still on our planet, but you don't see them anymore. So out of sight makes everyone feel better, perhaps. But it's kind of like that's what my videos do. They make you see that this is going on, and it goes on in every country. I see it going on all over Tampa. Right here. Yeah. It happens all over your city, and I've been to every state. I've seen this kind of stuff in every state. Maybe the population is smaller in North Dakota than it is in LA, but it happens in North Dakota. It happens everywhere. Different forms of it. It looks different. It's American Indians perhaps in North Dakota, and it's all kinds of people in LA, and in Tampa it's this, and it's all over.
It seems like all you hear about in the news is trillions of dollars being spent on different things, different stimulus packages, or different wars they're spending trillions of dollars on, but there's all this shit going on right under our noses that it seems like if you actually paid attention to it, and it was your job to pay attention to it, it wouldn't be that hard to fix if you had trillions of dollars.
It's a complicated, very complex problem. Like when Nancy Reagan was doing her war on drugs, just say no to drugs and all that kind of stuff. It's like, drugs are not the problem.
No.
Drugs aren't the problem. Drugs are just a symptom of the problem. The problem is these people had terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to them when they were 6 years old. Usually it's something to do with their dad or their uncle or their cousin or their whatever. And that's painful for a human to deal with. So what do? You become hyper sexualized, or you start using drugs, or you do something to escape from that. And if you do enough drugs, eventually you become addicted. So then you're a drug addict. So let's say you cure that addiction. You haven't solved the problem. The problem is what happened to her at 6 years old. How do you fix that? You don't. So you can patch her all the time you want, but she'll eventually keep redoing the same behavior. And that's really what's going on.
Well, how do you
fix that?
How do you fix the people who created that problem? How do you fix the uncle? How do you stop that? I mean, what is the answer to creating less losers?
Maybe you castrate these guys that are.
That guy though, when he was a kid, right?
It did.
It was
that's why I'm
chain reaction.
I'm totally non-judgmental in these talks I did yesterday. I'm not saying, dude, you're a bad dude. You're evil. I'm never saying that ever.
And then as well, I mean, I'm sure you, like, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm sure a lot of people who are living in that village full of sex offenders are people who didn't commit crazy crimes. No, maybe they were in the wrong place in the wrong time, and a girl was drunk and underage.
I talked to one guy who was, he met a girl in a club. He had to be 18 years old to get in the club. So that means everyone in there is of age. She had a fake ID saying she was 19. He was 25. So she's 6 years younger than he is. They had some fun. Then he finds out that she was only 16, and he did like 7-8 years in prison. And now he's a sex offender. He has to register twice a year for the rest of his life. He has to live in this mobile home park. He can't do anything with his life. He can't get a job without, oh, you're a sex offender, which is the worst thing you could ever be branded as, right? So good luck getting, because to survive in the world, you have to do it with gusto. You have to be confident. You have to be like, I'm going to go kick ass at this job interview tomorrow. Watch me kick some ass tomorrow. I'm ready. These guys aren't ready for anything after that.
No, the system is fucked. The system is not designed to help people become better. It's designed to make money off people who are off incarcerating people.
Yeah, I see that the cops, they were very, this is just one guy's case. And some of these guys are serial.
Right, for sure.
And that's a totally different animal. And one of the talks was on how there are all these different levels of sex offenders. One of the guys mentioned this in the talks yesterday, and that was interesting because I think he's right. A sex offender is not a sex offender. Some guys just, I talked to one guy who was just nothing but, and that became I asked him what got you into porn, and he says it was just I became desensitized to regular. So I needed something more extreme. And so that's one story. Another one was a guy just got set up, the cops did a sting and he ended up meeting a 14-year-old girl at a gas station, and next thing, he was hot meth, and he just wanted to have some fun with somebody, and it turned out she was 14, and the cops even, like, I think he told me the cops, it was actually a woman of his age that he was meeting, but then she said, oh, you got to meet my daughter. My daughter's 13 or something like that.
So she was pimping out her daughter.
It was a cop. It was
a cop.
It was a sting, and they were saying, my daughter's, you should meet my daughter. She's really whatever. So the whole thing was all being set up by the cops, and the guy eventually got caught. Never had sex with anybody, but he got he got nailed. So I'm not defending anybody. All I'm doing is presenting some stories. I'm not saying anyone is good or anyone is bad. Mm-hmm. I think it's important for us just to listen and understand.
How many interviews have you done total? Do you know?
Probably like 2,300 now.
2,300 interviews
in the last year and a half. We're worried about the 12 people outside that are trying to get in, and people that are texting me saying, hey, I need this, I need that. And I every single day of the year, I get between 10 and 50 messages from people saying, hey, I need money for this, I need money for that. My kids got cancer, my this, my that.
People you've interviewed?
Yeah, people I've interviewed. They all need something, and there's always an excuse why they need it. And I have to deal with that all the time. I just bought a second phone so I can kind of split the two, because at some point it just becomes ridiculous for me.
Do the stories ever affect you personally, emotionally? I mean, obviously when you're producing them, you're worried about a slew of different things, mechanically and visually, audio, everything. But after you edit them and you post them, do they ever kind of hit?
Yeah, there are certain people that just really, you see how terrible their lives have been, and your heart can't not go out to them. I'm human, so it's like when LaToya tells me her story and how horrible her childhood was, her whole life still is, man, my heart just, when I see her on the street and she comes over, I just grab my wallet and say, what do you need, honey? Let me help you. Because I just, what am I going to say? I can't help you today?
Right.
So I do, and I do it all the time. And I can't cure her childhood. I don't have the ability to do that. If I could, I would, but I can't. And we can't cure all these. I mean, that's the tragedy of all these stories. It's like people will use common sense, and their heart's in the right place, but they see these stories and like, Mark, you didn't help this person? Like, they're not helpable.
You're not trying to help them, right?
I mean, I do a lot of that kind of stuff, but I don't want this to become a help channel.
Right.
Like, my channel is not about, we're going to save so-and-so, we're going to make them all better, we're going to patch them all up and fix them up, and they're going to live happily ever after.
You can't go back in time. You're trying to repair something.
You're trying to repair a childhood. You're trying to repair what happened to her at 6 years old, and that's deep in her subconscious. And how do I fix her subconscious? I don't even know. I don't even know how to do that.
By trying to stop it happening to future people.
That's my take on it. It's like, it seems like preventing it from happening to the next generation would be the best attack on this. It may not fix LaToya, but it'll perhaps fix her kids that are being raised by somebody else, and maybe it won't happen to them. But I mean, I've seen firsthand what it's like to try to help these people. It's so much work. It takes all your time, money, focus, energy to try. It takes a team of people to try to help one person, and it still doesn't work. And everybody says, you just do a GoFundMe for somebody. All you're doing is throwing cash at somebody who's got a drug problem in most of these cases, or some other type of problem, and that money doesn't get spent in the proper ways. And you could argue that, then you handle the money and you spend this and then make sure it goes in the right place. Look, I'm one guy. I'm one guy operating all these cameras, traveling, doing all this stuff all by myself, not making money doing it. And you want me to help so-and-so while you sit on your sofa watching YouTube videos, saying, why don't you help this person? I'm like, come on.
You are a madman. You said you shot 10 videos yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. I do that a lot.
That's insane. That's fucking insane. I do one of these a week. Maybe I record 2 a week, but I only post 1 a week.
No, that's what I said. I'm intense. I'm wound up, man.
What is it about you that makes you such a hard worker and make you want to put out so much content? Like, I mean, you said yourself that you're not like a big social media guy. So you're obviously not doing it to feed some sort of algorithm.
I wish I was doing something other than social media, but I don't even know what that would be. Like photography, I do a very vertical portrait. It's a special format that I came up with to do a full-length human portrait. So the perspective, the ratios are basically what a human body is, a 6 foot tall person roughly.
Right.
And I had cameras custom made for that and all that, and that's a very vertical image that doesn't fit into a wide format like YouTube or a square one like Instagram or anything else that's on social media. They all don't work well with a vertical image. So what do? So I do that pan, which is a huge compromise, but what else do I do? And to me, the photography is more important than the portrait. I mean, than the interview. The portrait's more important than the interview.
For you?
For me.
Really?
For me. If I had to choose one or the other, I would do the photography.
Why? There's so much more in the interview, I feel like.
No, I know. I see the value in the interview, and everyone else does too, and I get that, and I see that that's important to the
Don't get me wrong, the photography is beautiful.
The photography I'm very proud of. The interviews, not so much. The early ones, I didn't put any effort into them. I didn't care about the audio. I didn't care about how the background looked or anything looked. I just pointed a camera. If it was out of focus, I almost didn't care because I really wanted to put zero effort into the video to make sure that what I was doing is highlight. It's all about the portrait for me. And if the interview could just be audio only, sit behind the portrait, that would be cool for me. I'd be happy with that. But I started doing the videos the way I do them. But as time went on, I kind of all right, let me make it look a little bit better. It's hard to look at that, and it's hard to listen to it because the audio is so bad, especially at my Skid Row studio where there's so much background noise. It's awful, terrible. I mean, the noise and the sirens and the people in the background and the music and all the crazy shit that goes on. It's hard to do audio there. But the reason I'm there, people would say, well, why don't you just get a studio that's quieter somewhere away from Skid Row? I have to be right in the heart of all the action in order to get the people to be willing to come in, open up their hearts and souls and their their subconscious basically to share those stories and feel free that they can run out if they have to.
Right.
Or at least when they're done, they feel free. But if they have to drive over here and do the talk, I would get much more stifled interviews. I wouldn't get the same kind of content.
You're always changing your approach.
Yeah, I'm always changing my approach. But I learned something recently that was just so heavy and so important, and I'm still processing it today. I don't want to name any names, and she's not on my channel, but there was somebody that I wanted to help, that I wanted to interview, but she wouldn't do it. But I wanted to help, and she calls me one day and says, "You know what? I could use your help. I'd like to get out of this life." And I said, "Sure, that's cool. Let me help you out, but I just want you to know there are no strings attached here. I'm not your sugar daddy. I'm just going to help you. Mm-hmm. You're not obligated to me in any way.
Right.
Just want you to know that right up front. It's not a this for that. You're not trading this for anything. I'm just going to help you. I want to make that clear." And I said, I was busy that day shooting or whatever. And I said, let me call you tonight. And sounded like this is because I'm eternally hopeful. I'm the most optimistic, hopeful person I've ever met. Like no matter what obstacles there are, I believe they can all be overcome, no matter what they are. Mm-hmm. And that's a great quality to have. So this seemed to be, again, it's these are all long shots because very few people actually climb out of these situations. But I'm hopeful. So let's give this a try. And she seemed to have a lot of potential, like a lot of potential. Like, you can fix your life so beautifully. I saw it so clearly. And she and I talked about it and so on. So I was going to call her that night. So I called that night and she's like, not around. That was weird. This is an important phone call.
She have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And never was able to connect with again. Some weird little text came back. So, I had an emergency or whatever. And so we never connected. And then I saw her on the street again shortly after that. And she runs away from me. Like avoids me. Like I'm like a like I'm a rapist or something. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Never had any weirdness happen in the interactions between us. And it was just weird. I'm like, what would make somebody do that? And it continues to this day. I saw her before this trip and like just treating me like I was like the devil. And I talked with some other people that do what she does, and they said, "Oh, it could be this, it could be that," and those all hold water. But I honestly believe what it is sometimes you have to follow your intuition, and your intuition can tell you a lot. And my intuition on this one is, you sometimes people just can't accept good in their lives. You just can't. And I represent good because I told her, I'm going to help you out. This is going to be just to help you out. It's free. It's not going to be like you're trading. You're not buying anything. I'm just helping. And just, she rejected it so hard and heavy. So it's like I'm evil. Like I'm representing something that's just so foreign and bad.
Right.
And I think what it is like when you go through child abuse, which maybe she went through, maybe she didn't, but my suspicion is maybe there is something there. Because you don't end up in that kind of lifestyle if you didn't have something terrible go on. That your brain, the wires in your brain get rewired, and what's good is of no use, and what's bad becomes what you go after, and everything is crisscrossed, and it's like, so you end up making terrible decisions. You end up in a lifestyle that's really dangerous and self-destructive, and you go nowhere in life. And eventually you probably get involved in drugs or depression or something worse. And that's where I fell in. I just didn't represent any of that bad stuff. I was just like looking to help out,
right,
without any strings attached. And you get crapped down for it. And I understand that because forgiveness is the most important thing in the world.